So here's my unsolicited advice. Number one, in recent years, this has become more and more important to me. Be a fan. Be a fan of writers, of artists, of musicians, of the weird gardener down your street whose succulent plants look better than anyone else's. Finally, I went and talked to this guy last week. I said, "What do you do?" He said, "Rusty nails. You bury rusty nails at the base of succulent plants, and they go nuts." I said, "Why didn't I talk to him years ago?" It's very consoling and inspiring to be a fan. It gives your students a sense of your own enthusiasm for life and for whatever field you're talking about, but it also gives you fuel. It helps you work, and you keep finding new great quotes that you can use with your students. It's incredible how quotes from artists can transfer over to writing, or from musicians over to writing. It just gives you more energy to go on. And I love how when you read a blog, I'm not an expert on blogs, I'm sure you know more about them than I do. I've never kept one. But when you read one, like the person will have like 12 of their favorite blogs listed down the side of the page, and just finding new people. You can be a fan of a new person every day. It's amazing. So that's number one. Number two, believe in tiny increments of time. Of course, the biggest excuse everyone always gives for why they can't do the writing they really want to do is there's too much going on. Okay, just sneak it in. Tiny increments of time. 7 minutes, 10 minutes, they stack up. You can build a shelter out of them. Teachers have said to me, "I have no time to do my own writing during the day." Well, where do you eat lunch? Could you possibly stay in your classroom for 15 minutes now and then and do some regular writing for yourselves? Early moments of the day, waiting moments, tired moments, moments in between. We have a lot of tiny increments through the day, and they can be used for writing, and they can be very helpful. I often find out that's where I work out my problems in writing, in a tiny slip of time while you're waiting for something else to happen. Number three, share anywhere. I know that's a big part of the writing process here in the Institute. Don't ever be too precious, too perfect to share your work. Let it out. Remember, your revision and other people's new vision of your work is its own best creative joy. Don't be like these recent gorgeous adult writers I was with in California for 6 days in an amazing remote place. They all seemed to have so much confidence and affection for one another and joy. And then they went right home, and we got on a little email circle together, and they fell back into a lot of old habits of like apologizing, criticizing themselves. "I know I'm really horrible, but..." And so we're all just trying to give each other more confidence. Wait a minute, don't you feel the circle with you? One woman wrote, "It was so easy to share when I was with 25 friends, but it's not easy here at home." And just encouraging people to find new readers, to send their work out. One person wrote, "Well, my 8 poems came back from the magazine I sent them to. Maybe in a year or two I'll grow brave enough to send them out again." I said, "What the heck? I want you to send them out within the next 24 hours. There are a lot of magazines out there. You don't have to wait a year. If you're stuck, if you don't know what to write a thank you letter to someone who's not expecting to hear from you. It'll help. It will break through." Now, I'm very happy to see, oh wait, I have 2 more suggestions. Have rituals. And I feel that Lucy has always encouraged a sense of ritual about writing in a way that is so positive and just promotes a kind of comfort in the writing process. But have your own rituals, add little things to your rituals that will help you feel more pleased when you sit down at the writing table, no matter what you're working on. Just last year, I did here in New York City a workshop with Kim Stafford, the son of my lifetime poet mentor, William Stafford. We were down at Poet's House in Battery Park. And although I've been reading William Stafford's poems since I was 15 and been in love with them all my life and heard so much about William Stafford, and I had never heard exactly this. Kim said, "Okay, well, my father died 20 years ago, and we're finally going through all of his notebooks and putting his entire archive online in the state of Oregon. It's available, Lewis and Clark Digital Library. You can read his notebooks, his changing drafts of poems. It's an amazing treasure. He said, I can tell you exactly what he did every day. Okay, he was a teacher. He had college students, but every morning at 4:30, that doesn't work for everyone, he went to his couch. He wrote first in the horizontal position. He felt like you had better thoughts when you were still in the horizontal position. Before he went and sat at his desk, he did this. 4 things. He wrote the date. You can see this in all his notebooks. Number 2, he wrote down a bunch of details that he had experienced within the last 24 hours. Little observant details. Yesterday at Joe's Diner, the pancakes were better than they've ever been before. And that's an actual quote from one of his notes. Just little random details about a sprinkler on the canvas, about a student who looked sad, this or that. Then, this is the interesting, the 3rd thing, he wrote wise sayings that he made up on the spot. Things like, ants, A-N-T-S, always pass on the right. Or, if we knew how to listen, even the grass by the roadside could teach us how to live our lives. You know, lines that sound like they could be part of a sermon or a pep talk or, you know, just a hopeful AARP article. And he said that was the place he kind of went a little wild. Like just making up and using some of the, like the pancake could be used in a wise saying. Putting that. And then the 4th thing he did was he played around. He played with that stuff on the page. The date was important because it rooted him to the moment. Then he put actual observing facts and then wise sayings. And then he played around. And then he went to his desk after that. Okay, hearing that, after having read William Stafford since being 15, was incredibly, it gave me a huge insight. That was his routine. That was his rhythm. And if you look through his notebooks, you can see it. And one last little bit of unsolicited advice. How many of you liked the movie Boyhood? How many saw it? Well, many of us in Texas are longtime Richard Linklater fans. He's just one of the nicest people anyone will ever meet. And to hear him talk about the creative process is one of the most profound things I'll ever experience. And he says to people, I will always think of myself as a writer first. I'm a writer, I'm a reviser, I'm a researcher. And I had him come to a class that I was teaching, a college class, and he spoke to them. And one student asked him, when you were young, did everyone believe in you? And he said, are you kidding me? When you drop out of college to make 8-minute films, who believes in you? He said, no one believed in me, but I believed in myself. I knew there were things that I had to do in film. But this was the line that really changed me that day, and I carry it in my mind every day. It's okay to be in your formative years a very long time. Rick Linklater. And that is the end of my unsolicited advice. So here's a piece. Well, first, does anyone have a question?